one. This week, on a special holiday edition of The Big Show, we're celebrating the groundbreaking debut of Hamilton, which premiered on Disney Plus 5 years ago today. This hip hop musical about one of the founding fathers is still one of the best examples of how art can turn a civics lesson into a cultural phenomenon that shapes how we see our country's past and future. We'll revisit its legacy and what it says about how art influences the masses. Plus, we remember the rugged, unforgettable Michael Madsen, who passed away this morning at the age of 67. We'll look back at some of his legendary performances and the legacy he leaves behind. And finally, we'll wrap with quick takes on The Old Guard 2, Jurassic World Rebirth, 40 Acres, and Heads of State. We'll have all that and more on the latest episode of Keeping It Real with Film Gordon. Let's go. All right, and welcome to the latest episode of Keeping It Real with Film Gordon. I am Tim Gordon, and on a super hot day, I am joined by Charles Kirkland Jr. Charles, greet the people this week.
What do you mean a super hot day? It's just regular. I'm good. It's good today.
Okay. That's not what you were saying before we came on the air. Charles was like, it's hot. Charles, for people out there who don't listen to us every week, Charles does not do heat. I'm more heat tolerant than you are, but I'm getting to a point, man, where I'm like, nah, I'm good. About a week ago, Charles, you remember when temperatures were in the triple digits in our region, and I told people the heat, it felt like when you walked outside a week ago, that the heat almost snatched you like a bill collector, like I got him. I was like, I'm inside hiding, man, because it was hot. So, hey, man, but welcome to the show. 4th of July, holiday weekend. We're back again. Charles, how you feeling, man? You good?
I'm good, man. You said it was super hot, but we've had triple digits. We didn't reach triple digits today, but it is still hot. It is still hot.
It is still hot, man. So we got a big show ahead, man. We got 4 reviews today, man. Heads of State, Jurassic World Rebirth, 40 Acres, and who am I leaving out? Um, I'm leaving somebody out. Oh, goodness gracious, man.
Old guard, you said old
Old
guard to
Guard 2.
Jurassic.
Yeah, thanks, Charles. I was like, dang, I got to go back and relook at the show sheet again. So all that stuff is coming up. Plus, we're going to talk a little bit about Michael Madsen. Well, actually, we're going to talk about Michael Madsen now. We're going to talk about Hamilton in a second, but we'll lead off the day with the untimely passing of Michael Madsen, a rugged character actor. I did not know, Charles, that he was in 346 movies. That's a lot of movies because I thought Sam Jackson was always the king. And I know Sam has been in maybe close to 200 now. I know last time I checked, it was like around 180, but I didn't know anybody else had exceeded Sam. 346 is an insane number, man, for Michael Madsen. So I'll let you start, man. Talk a little bit about Michael Madsen. We know we're familiar with his association with Quentin Tarantino, where Tarantino cast him in a bunch of different films. The Hateful Eight, Reservoir Dogs. I mean, Madsen, it almost feels like Madsen maybe is close to being in all of his films. I know there's a couple of not in, but he's in a lot of Tarantino films, man.
Yeah, I mean, he and Tarantino seem to have, found a way to work together that really has complimented him because, I mean, I've seen Madsen in a lot of stuff, but it wasn't until Reservoir Dogs, and I'm like, hey, this dude right here, right? And so, and even the role he played in Kill Bill. So, I'm just like, this dude is a serious dude. I really liked his work. And you mentioned it. He's just like rough and tumble, hard nosed dude, and so I just enjoyed everything. Except for maybe when he was in Free Willy. You remember him in Free Willy?
I don't remember him in Free Willy, man.
So yeah,
Oh,
it's a big loss, and like you said, 346 acting credits. I just had no idea that he had done that much work in his life. But when you go back and it's like he's like you used to play 6 Degrees of Separation with Kevin Bacon. You can do 1 degree with Michael Madsen. He's pretty much worked with everybody that's been in Hollywood. So, it's just an incredible loss. And I know a lot of people are feeling it because, like I said, he's worked with everyone.
well, it's interesting, man. As an aside, I shared with Charles that earlier this week, um, my TV in my living room, the bulb started dying, so it started getting dark. So I was like, I got to go and replace this TV. So I go out and buy this really nice television set. And yesterday I get the sound bar to kind of match it. And last night I'm just in the house experimenting, going through, streaming platforms, whether it was Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, etc. Just look up action films, Charles, that I can turn on so I can get the vibration of my sound bar, like the woofer, right? And one of the films I played last night, ironically, not knowing, was The Hateful Eight. And I just watched, and when I say watch these movies, I wasn't watching whole movies, but I was just putting in certain scenes that I knew that had action or scores that would really kind of like reverberate in my house. And The Hateful Eight, man, you and I have talked about this, man. I don't know. I may have to up that to a 5-star movie because that may be, along with Pulp Fiction, my favorite two Tarantino film. It really is. Hateful Eight is just great. It's just a great film. You don't like The Hateful Eight?
I'm not 5 stars like it. No,
I
no.
Again, I'm built differently, but I just think that The Hateful Eight, with execution, when you get to a 5-star level, and this is, I'm gonna get back to Michael Madsen, but since you threw a monkey wrench in there, I got to explain it and provide more context. No, I do, because people may not watch this show every week, but you got to know who I am, right? So Charles saying that I wouldn't give it 5 stars, I'm saying I like it a lot, and it's one of the few Tarantino movies that I can watch over and over. Like, like they came out with an extended version. That, like, on the same line on Netflix, they have like the regular version. I'm like, no, I'll take the extended because I want more Hateful Eight, right? And I was gonna say, to answer your original query about 5 stars, 5 stars is about execution, right? When you watch a movie like Sinners, which is a 5-star movie, Sinners is an original story that came out of the mind of Ryan Coogler that's expertly executed, right? Like all these different scenes, the acting, the music, the score, the pacing, everything about this movie really, really works. And it's shot, if you remember, Sinners in IMAX and Panavision, right? Guess what The Hateful Eight is shot in? Panavision
IMAX and
7.
Panavision.
Yes. So my point, it's a beautiful film, beautiful landscapes. You got Sam Jackson, Michael Madsen, Kurt Russell, Walter Goggins. I mean, come on, bro. You have like a platinum cast with a platinum screenplay, with platinum cinematography, shot well, executed well, score. Everything about The Hateful Eight to me is just great. It's a great movie. But getting back to Michael Madsen, I didn't realize when I was watching it last night, I know we're going to talk a little bit about him in Reservoir Dogs, right? That classic scene. But in The Hateful Eight, it's so funny when I think about Michael Madsen in that film. It's the scene where, everybody's coming in the door, and the lock has been blown off. So they got the take the piece of wood and hammer it to keep the door. And you hear Michael Madsen screaming, "Get the hammer!" Close it, close it. It's cold outside. Close it. So if you've seen The Hateful Eight, that scene is always funny to me every time somebody walks in. Somebody's got to take a piece of wood and get the second piece of wood. It's not going home with one. So I have a weird sense of humor in that way. But yes, Charles,
Yes, yes.
I
I think
do,
that's
man.
the
I'm a movie guy,
I
man. I'm
think that's the
sorry.
point. You have a weird sense of
A
humor.
weird sense of humor when it comes to movies, man. But Michael Madsen, man, in Reservoir Dogs, I'm not gonna say I'm with you on that, but I think I'm in agreement that him, Keitel, Tim Roth, and all those guys that littered the scene in what was Quentin Tarantino's calling card for Reservoir Dogs. It's a memorable movie, man. It really is. And I know our show, we think about podcasts, man. For us, I think it's about the love and the magic of movies. That's what Keeping It Real with Film Gordon is all about. So whether I don't even really get to talk about my first love on this show because this is not the audience for that, which is my classic movies. I love
Uh,
classic films. If I had my druthers, I would have an entirely separate podcast with a different host than Charles Kirkland because Charles is not going to sit down and watch these movies from TCM from the 30s and 40s and 50s. You're not. I mean,
I don't
you're
have
better.
TCM. I don't have TCM, but pretty much every movie that you'll talk about, I'm like, I've seen it already. I've seen it already.
I mean, like I said, there's some people, and I'm not going to name who have been on this show who we know as our inside joke that doesn't watch movies earlier than 1970. You can't get them to watch movies. And you know who you are out there.
I, and I'm not saying that I wouldn't want to be on that podcast with you but I don't know how much I would want to talk about old movies. I'd rather stick to what's happening nowadays. So yeah, you'd have to find somebody else to be on that show with you.
Well, I mean, the bottom line is so funny you say that, man. And we're going to wrap it up because we got to keep moving along. But the thing that's interesting is that these classic films are the foundation of all the things you watch right now. So, for an example, I know we're going to have to talk in about 6 weeks about the highest to the lowest, right? The new Spike Lee movie with Denzel
Right.
Washington, Jeffrey Wright, and Rocky, uh, ASAP Rocky and which is based on a 1963 Akira Kurosawa movie called High and Low, which Charles and I have had conversations. Every time I see a movie that is coming out that is based on an original film, I go and race and watch the original quick so that I can have something to compare it to when it's time for us to review it. And a lot of times, unless one of these things sneaks up on us, Charles, I will normally do this in advance and then call you and we will do it together and have a conversation about it. But that's part of what I see when we talk about the magic of movies or stories that move me. So before we get on to another story that moved me that we're going to celebrate today, I'll just end by saying Michael Madsen was 67 years old with 346 acting credits. I'm positive that somebody who may be watching or listening to this has come across a performance of Michael Madsen that may have touched you. You got 346 opportunities. I know there was one along the line that touched you. So rest in power. That is a big loss, man. I mean, anytime we lose anybody out of this community, it's a loss, especially somebody who I know Quentin Tarantino had written a lot of stuff for and loved as a character actor, man. So Michael Madsen passed away at the age of 67. Now, today is I'm not going to give you the date, but 5 years ago today, one of the most decorated Broadway plays, Disney Plus filmed it, I guess, back from a 2016 performance and aired it on Disney Plus 5 years ago today. And Charles, we're talking about Hamilton, and to me, I remember specifically watching, and I think I saw a video years ago because I know I didn't see it live, but Barack Obama, when he was president in 2009, had a night that I guess they were saluting Lin-Manuel Miranda because The Heights was a huge play. So they brought him to some special room in the White House to do a performance. And I remember watching it on video, and he said, instead of doing this, I'm working on this new thing right now, and I'm just going to do the opening for you, right? So I'm sitting there, and of course, he just had it was him with a microphone, and I guess his accompanist on a piano, right? So
Right.
there was none of the cool stuff that we would get later, like none of that. It was just the piano, like dun 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 dun. How does a
Like it's a
bastard
back.
orphan son of a? I was like, wait, what's going on? And he does this piece for the first time publicly, where he introduces what would become the title song from his upcoming play that would drop 6 years later, called Hamilton, right? And Charles, I don't think it's just me, not hyperbole. When Hamilton hit and dropped and people started watching it, it was like a thunderbolt. People were like, what is this? So the backstory, which to me is even more fascinating, is he's on vacation. I don't know, 2006, somewhere around there. And this book had come out on Alexander Hamilton in like 2004.
Yeah.
He reads the first three chapters on the beach and puts the book down, and then his mind starts racing, and he's got hip hop lyrics, and he's thinking about the idea, Charles, that he even conceptualized. I can tell Hamilton's story, but make it more contemporary, make it our story. Use hip hop, R&B, and all these pop elements, show tunes, and put it in there. It to me is nothing short of miraculous. Now I know there's people at home that'll say, "Well, there's Dream Girls and Cats and Rent and all these other ones." Not the same, right? Because you've heard me say this, Charles, again. Any successful play, at least to me, has to have several elements, right? You got to have songs, a songbook that's memorable. If the songs are whack, I don't care how great your play is, your musical is, it's just not going to work. It doesn't work
No.
without good music. Hamilton, it was funny because I stopped when in the song "The Room Where It Happens." You got the room where it happens. You got the Hamilton song. You've got "I'm Not Throwing Away My Shot." I mean, there's so much stuff in this play that really, really works well. So I will say this, man. I just think it's a revelation. Now, Charles, as a film, I had to put it on Letterboxd because Disney Plus aired it. Gave it 5 stars. Hamilton is a 5-star project to me. Now you can sit up and because knowing Charles don't want to give anything 5 stars. Charles is 4.5, 4.25. But Charles, talk a little bit about the legacy of Hamilton.
First of all, I do believe that I would give Hamilton 5 stars. Um, but Hamilton also came at a time where it was desperately needed. It had been on Broadway for quite a while, but when Disney dropped it on their platform, we were in the middle of a time where people weren't going anywhere and they could sit at home and see this magnificent piece of work. And so it spread like wildfire because I mean there were a lot of people who knew what Hamilton was and had celebrated Hamilton for being great, but it just took on a whole nother life when people were stuck at home and had nothing to do, and everybody said, "Hey, have you seen this?" And how fantastic it was. So yeah, it's just a fantastic piece of work, but it also has has the absolute best timing of all time to be successful. And I think it's one things that happened during the pandemic that was on Disney Plus that really worked.
Well, let me tell you something, man. I don't have enough adjectives. When I see good art, and I guess part of why I'm this way is because as a guy that creates stuff and has researched other people, you hear me always talk about. I know last week we talked about the top 75 artists, and you know how much I love Prince and how much I love Stevie Wonder and other folks. Man, I just think that from a spiritual standpoint, Charles, we always talk about how God gives each of us different assignments and different gifts, right? So there's some guys out there, man, who just have certain gifts where things just come naturally to you, right? And it's like you don't have to work hard for it. It's just like, we talk about Whitney Houston having a great voice. Whitney Houston didn't do anything special to get that voice. She was just born with that voice. Luther Vandross was born with that voice, right? Lin-Manuel Miranda has the ability to write and create. And the fact that that dude was able to create that play, look, Charles, out of this mind and write all those lyrics, structure that thing, take the format, take the context of the book, kind of like, do some research and read some letters and incorporate all that stuff, and then to make it so flawless how it works, it's nothing short of genius, man. And Hamilton, and in addition to the timing, Charles, to your point, if you remember, Disney initially was going to release that thing in 21, and it was so popular that they were like, they were smart. It was like, hey, civics lesson, founding fathers, drop it on in the Independence Day weekend back in 2020. So it's the perfect civics lesson for America because it shows Washington and Aaron Burr and Thomas Jefferson and James Madison, the founding fathers. It's an amazing piece that will outlive Lin-Manuel Miranda or Lin Miranda Manuel. I always get his
Yeah,
name.
you said it right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna outlive him, man, because it is still absolutely fantastic today. It won 11 Tonys, it won Grammys, it won Image. It won everything when it came out. It is still a stunning piece of work, and to me, it's the perfect piece of work to watch over the holiday weekend. Even if you just put 2 hours aside, man, and just watch it, it's perfectly in tune with the holiday that we're celebrating right now.
Especially if there's going to be no concert on the mall this year, and there you need something to do.
It's
That,
not.
oh, you haven't heard? Oh, we could talk about that later. I don't want to put that. Well, basically, if they don't approve this budget and Congress is still in session, they can't have the concert on the mall. So everything is hinging on whether they pass this big beautiful bill uh today. If they don't do it today, they can't have the concert.
How does a bastard orphan Hamilton, bruh. And then the other part, Charles, have you ever seen it from start to finish?
Yes, several times.
I have not finished it yet, but the fact that they were able to keep remixing that opening song throughout it, I just thought that was genius too, man. The way they pulled that off. So an amazing a piece of work. Again, I'm not reviewing it today because it came out 5 years ago. It actually dropped 10 years ago. First played in 2015, but that's a 5-star piece if I've ever seen one. That is amazing. So Hamilton, I wanted to kind of have some time to reflect on that today because I thought it was the perfect piece, man. And when we were talking about this art, which we spent a lot of time talking about, with something like Hamilton. And before we get out of here, man, let's just call it for what it is, man. So I'm going to ask you this question. I want you to kind of think about this. Is it still to you, Charles, as revolutionary in 2015, excuse me, in 2025 as it was in 2015?
Absolutely. I think well, I guess it depends on whether you've seen how many times you've seen it. Miranda has done a lot of Hamilton styled stuff after Hamilton and even before, because if you look at In the Heights, the same kind of structure happens in that film, in that play, as it does in Hamilton. So,
Which preceded Hamilton,
which
though.
preceded Hamilton. So, Anthony Ramos, who starred in the Heights, was also in was in the Heights before he joined
Hamilton.
Hamilton. So we have the subsequent things that have come after it. So we kind of have have lost the originality feel of Hamilton, but it still works, and it's still a great civics lesson, like you said. How many people knew about the Federal Reserve before they ever watched this film? So I mean, yeah, it's just I think it's still revolutionary in the way it's structured and the way it communicates. Yeah, it still is.
So let me jump in because there's another key scene that I thought was really interesting of how I understand in a Broadway play, we have to touch on pieces and kind of move, keep the story moving, right? There's a great sequence when I guess in the second act we introduce Thomas Jefferson, right? Now, if you're at home and you haven't seen Hamilton, these aren't spoilers. Hamilton's been out for 10 years. So if you don't know this, don't hit us up. Man, they spoiling it. Yeah, we are. But anyway, in the second act, when Thomas Jefferson is introduced, he's been over in France. He comes back. He's now the Secretary of State. Alexander Hamilton is the Treasury Secretary, right? And there's this great sequence, man, where they have them do a debate. And of course, Jefferson is talking about, this whole aspect I guess there's a level of taxation that they're talking about, Charles, where he has it where as a country now, the 13 colonies, that they're taking on the debt of each other. Like the country is taking on the debt. Even though Virginia and the South are prosperous and the Union in the North are not, we are, again, the civics lesson we're talking about, how they're explaining to you in a play and an entertainment standpoint of what they're framing this debate between these two founding fathers, right? So Jefferson, of course, is telling him that, hey, we making money. Hamilton comes back and goes, yeah, y'all planting and making money because y'all got free labor in the South because the slaves are doing all the work. And
Hmm.
of course, it gets really contentious. Washington has to come in there and break it up. But it's to me, it's fantastic. And the reason why I suggest people to watch it, because to your point, Charles, there are lessons about government that are all interspersed inside of the story. Now you're dancing and snapping your fingers, but if you're paying attention, you're like, oh, yeah, the founding fathers. I mean, so they really, the structure of how this country was organized wasn't perfect, but it's an imperfect system that we continue to work on over the course of now almost 250 years, man. Like, and Hamilton kind of lays out in an entertaining way, probably the best example of what it felt like, as Leslie Odom saying, to be in the room where it happened. Be in the room where it happened.
Yeah.
So Hamilton to me is a really important piece, not just for the entertainment value that it has, but for the lessons that are interspersed all in it, which you can't get around because that's the story of all these gentlemen and how America was founded back in 1776.
Yeah, I don't disagree. You're absolutely right.
All right, man. So, of course, Hamilton is on Hulu right now, and I guess that's the other thing we should talk about, Charles. So when we start recommending stuff, let people know where they can watch it. I know you can watch it on Disney Plus if you have a subscription. If you don't, Hamilton is playing on Hulu. I would highly suggest you taking a couple of hours and checking it out. I think it's 246. Am I right, Charles?
Uh, if you say so, I
I
think
think no. I mean, I've been watching it recently, like as in this morning. So I know it's almost 3 hours, but it's worth it. Trust me, it's an
yeah,
amazing
it's.
testament.
I was gonna say it's definitely like 2 hours and 40 minutes. I think.
Yeah, it's pretty damn good. So
Oh yeah,
Hamilton, I would check that out, man. So Charles, you ready to talk about some of these movies, man? Because we got some this week, man. We got a bunch of them actually.
yeah. I'm ready when you are. Well, I mean, where are we gonna start?
All right, man. First of all, we're gonna start our movie section segment this week. And back in the day, the inside joke was that when we were doing this, Charles would have this piece of paper because there was a tease that we would read, and Charles would make sure I had the tease. I'd be like, oh, you got it? Thanks, man. Cool. So we don't do the tease anymore, but I'll just set them up this way, man, which I find to be interesting. First movie out the box, of course, is The Old Guard 2. Andy, or Andromaca, played by Charlize Theron, leads her immortal warriors against a powerful enemy threatening to expose their existence. Their mission grows more complicated with the resurfacing of a long lost immortal who can change everything. Charles, I'll let you start off, man, on the
No, you
old
won't,
guard.
because I still have not seen this film. I didn't get it from Netflix, and I know it's on Netflix now, but I
Okay.
still haven't had the opportunity to watch it. So it's on you.
All right, I got it, man. All right, so again, if you watched the original Old Guard too, Old Guard, I'm sorry, the original Old Guard, the Old Guard is pretty much the story of a group of immortals led by Charlize Theron's character, Andy for short, but her real name is Andromaca Sith, however it's pronounced. And in the original film, it was speculated that she was probably about 1,200 years old. Like I think through some hints. Charles, when you watch it, you find out that she's far older than that.
Oh.
And yeah, I mean, so it's a really interesting, I think, and I'll get to the end of what my opinion of this is. But this movie is all about giving you, like the first movie was about introducing you to what it would feel like to be immortal, right? The second movie deals with the consequences of immortality and the fact of people who are immortal who there are certain rules and certain things we learn through new characters that are inserted into part two that
Hmm.
talk about the responsibility of what it feels like to be an immortal, right? So it's not
Right.
necessarily, Charles, just about you being in your own silo and you just living your life and making as much money as you can make and staying alive and staying under the radar. There's a certain band and responsibility to change the course of the world, which was touched on at the end of the first one of how everything that these immortals were doing, the character of Chiwetel Ejiofor kind of went and figured out that like for everything they did, there were ripples that would come 3, 4, 5 generations later of change that Andy and her team were implementing. So now in the second one, Chiwetel Ejiofor is now a part of the team, right? And
Hmm.
if you also remember in part one, there was a companion of Andy's who was jailed and locked in some sort of crude device and dropped to the bottom of the ocean. You remember that, Charles?
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so, of course, now she's in the second one. And there's also a new character played by Uma Thurman, who literally is the first immortal and the oldest of all the immortals, Charles.
What?
So, I'm trying to do this in a way to not put any spoilers in this, but let's just say when you find out how old she is, there is a wonderful scene where she's in the church and she's staring at the crucifixion. And she was like, yeah, I was there that day, man. That was a real day. I was like, wait a second. So she was there that day, and Charles, and maybe a millennia before that. So
Wow.
we're talking, when you talk about immortals in part two, you really start to understand and grasp who these characters are. And then there's one more character who is the keeper of immortal history, right? So he literally has written a story about all the immortals.
So,
And
but he's immortal too.
he's immortal too, and his name is Tua in the character. And I forget what the gentleman's name is, but you start to figure out that there's a connection between the character called Discord, that's played by Uma Thurman, who's the oldest immortal, and now the youngest immortal, Kiki Lane, who, God, I may get in trouble for some of this, man, because I don't know how much of this I'm supposed to reveal, man, for people who haven't watched it. So there's a connection. I'll just say there's a connection between these two characters that's very, very important, which will be explored in Old Guard 3. Now, if there's not an Old Guard 3, it's going to really invalidate a lot of Old Guard too. I'm just going to tell you that now. I mean, because the way this film sort of like what it means, and I call it a glue movie. A glue movie is a term I came up with about 25 years ago when Lord of the Rings dropped, right? And I thought Two Towers was the perfect glue movie between the Fellowship of the Ring and what was the last one called? The Return of the King. So the
Return of the
Fellowship of
King.
the Ring, which was number one, the Return of the King was number three. Two Towers is the glue movie, right? It's not. It has some information in it, but its primary mission is to be the second movie to connect movies one and three. It feels
Mm,
like Old Guard 2 is the glue movie connecting the first movie, which is really, really important in the introduction of these characters, and the third movie, which is going to be the resolution of these stories, right? The
right.
other thing that I will add before I get out of here is that I'm surprised by one thing, and every time I watch The Old Guard, it surprises me because if you've got Netflix, like we do, right? There are so many series that are on Netflix that I think are just better movies, right? I don't know why you did a series. You could have just made a movie out of that, right? The Old Guard is in reverse. The Old Guard, to me, Charles, would have worked better if it was 6 to 8 episodes where you could really drill down and like have a season where you could spend 4, 3.5, 4, 5 hours with these characters and let them breathe and their adventures. So I've never understood why they elected to use the format of making them as movies versus his limited series. It boggles my mind because every time I watch it and it gets to the end, I go, "Dang, I wish there was more story that I could watch here." This is it begs for more story, but this one is a glue movie, Charles. I gave it a B minus. There are some very good action scenes. Of course, Victoria Mahoney takes over for Gina Prince Bythewood. She's already announced that if they're making a third one, once it's greenlit, she's got 6 or 7 years worth of projects that she's committed to, so she's not coming back. I'm hoping that after is it Blood and Bone, the new Gina Prince Bythewood movie that's dropping
Yeah.
next year, that Gina Prince Bythewood needs to come back to this story because it needs that level of kind of execution, that level of sensibility for the story. But I thought the Old Guard was good. The only reason why I went with the B minus, and when you watch it, you'll see, is that the way it felt like they just left you hanging, man. It's almost like you didn't even look, Charles, you didn't even try to resolve it to kind of like say maybe, maybe not. You just went whoosh, and I was like, that's it. That's the so yeah, man. So, but I still like what I saw, and I learned a lot more about these characters. So, 2 points. It should have been a series versus a movie. And as a glue movie, I thought there was some good information in it. And I don't and now I'm saying Netflix, come on, man. You gotta make Old Guard 3. You can't leave me with what you left me with Old Guard 2, because I'm gonna be real upset about this if there's not a third film in this series. Charles?
Okay. Okay, I will take all of that with a grain of salt. It sounds like the old guard is turning into Highlander. And so I mean I love Uma Thurman. We talked about the Quentin Tarantino and Michael Madsen, but Uma Thurman is integral with all that too. So I just have a thing for Uma. So I can't wait to see what she does in this film.
All right, man. So let us continue to move on. And up next is Jurassic World Rebirth. And in this story, Zora Bennett leads a team of elite operatives to the most dangerous place on Earth, an island research facility built on the remains of the original Jurassic Park. Their mission to secure dinosaur genetic material that could provide life-saving breakthroughs for humankind. And as the top secret expedition grows more dangerous, they make a sinister discovery that has been hidden from the world for decades. Now, Charles, I did not see this movie, but I have an opinion and can't figure out why they keep making these movies where we put man next to these ginormous beasts that, of course, It makes no sense to me. The first, and I know Steven Spielberg's an executive producer, and he has a childlike fascination with these stories. Charles, tell us about Jurassic World Rebirth.
Well, you really have to have a childlike sensibility to enjoy this film because as a grown man,
Uh,
after this is the seventh Jurassic movie, I'm like, come on, dude. Have we not learned? Have we not learned? Now, basically, in this film, the dinosaurs are dying and they're all stuck, and they're all the only ones surviving are near the equator, and the world has outlawed any travel to this area. So everybody knows don't go there. And so when when these people decide they want to go there to get for this pharmaceutical company, um, all of us are like, well, you deserve to die. I mean, basically, everyone in the audience is like, yeah, okay, you need to die, and so so there's no sympathy for anyone in this film. And so I think they knew this going into it, so they throw into this family who gets stranded in the area, but they're stupid too. And you're like, why are they there? And so the whole time you're thinking, why? Now, the whole reason is why are you there? But there's some pretty interesting scenes. There's some gorgeous cinematography that occurs in the film. The soundtrack is pretty nice, but you never get away from the fact that you are actually rooting for the dinosaurs to kill people, and and they've created this new well, the island they go to is where they created like mutant dinosaurs. So you got some dinosaurs that aren't the same ones that you've seen, and they want to have one called the D-Rex that's just horrible to look at. It's like a cross of alien and a T-Rex, and it's just like ugly. And so I'm like, this movie just doesn't really work. I mean, if you just sit there and you just watch it, of course, turn your brain off and be like the childlike Steven Spielberg and just enjoy. But it's hard for a rational person to sit through this movie and say, I get it. And so, yeah, it's yeah, it's nice to see Scarlett Johansson though. I mean, doing stuff, but
Charles, wrap this up,
in
man,
the
and give
in the
us a
in the
review because
end,
you're just rambling.
in the end, in the end, this movie is not good. It is not. It's not even fun. When you get finished with it at the end, you're like, I just wish more people had died. And that's
Wow.
that's just the way you feel when you get out of the film. And so I gave it a C minus on the scale. It's not. I mean, no, don't do it. Don't do it. That's all I got to say.
Wow. All right. So C minus. Wow. And I gave my grade a B minus for the previous film. All right. Cool. All right, Charles. I'm sorry you had that experience because I didn't see it, but I heard this next film that we're going to talk about. There were people who came out and they really enjoyed this. And I'm going to jump ahead, Charles, to Heads of State. In this film, U.S. President Will Derringer and British Prime Minister Sam Clark have a very public rivalry. When Air Force One, excuse me, is shot down over enemy territory, they must work together on the run to stop a global conspiracy that could destroy the free world. This is a buddy comedy meets action thriller. And do they stick the landing? Let me start with this one, Charles. Um, Charles and I sat at a screen a couple of chairs apart from each other, and there was a lot of the following phrase from me watching this film, and Charles will co-sign. Damn, damn, damn. So, who I didn't mention is the film stars Idris Elba, John Cena, and what is her name? How do you pronounce her name? Is it
Priyanka Chopra Jonas.
Thank you, sir. So, pretty much the story starts off with a thunderous opening sequence where Lady Jonas is leading a team and they're over somewhere in Spain where, there's having I guess it's a tomato festival because people are throwing tomatoes and you got all this stuff happening. And they're on the lookout for this notorious killer. And I'm trying to remember what his name is, Charles. Can you look up his name?
Victor Gradov.
Thank you, Victor Gradov. And of course, much like in the Thomas Crown affair, he sends multiple people dressed like him. And Charles, you saw what I just did there? See
Yeah,
how if you
very
have the
good, very
hat,
good.
thank you. I'm just checking. Watch this. So much like the Thomas Crown affair, there are multiple people dressed like this character. And then suddenly there's a whole lot of people getting dead real quick that are on Lady Jonas's team. And at the end, Lady Jonas is shot. And you're like, man, I don't understand how all this is going to tie in with the movie. Just be patient. It'll work itself out. Meanwhile, we go and meet this United States president who's just in his first term. Former, I think it's a cross between who Arnold Schwarzenegger and not necessarily the president now. It's not that. It's probably more of who Schwarzenegger would have been if he was president. Somebody who wide-eyed and hey, I'm a wrestling star. What was the name of his movie that they kept referencing? Water what?
Water Cobra.
Water. So he had a successful movie franchise called Water Cobra, where the tagline was dropping warheads on their
On
forehead.
the foreheads.
So, so you got him, and his chief of staff is I think her name is Sarah Niles,
There are
who had been
Niles,
in
yes.
Riches and a bunch of other people, right? Now on the other side, the prime minister from Britain, who is now 6 years as prime minister, is Prime Minister Clark, played by Idris Elba. And of course, his counterpart, or Sarah Niles' counterpart, I think the guy's name was Quincy, who was his kind of like chief of staff. And
Yeah.
there's this great sequence when they're both coming down the hall where he's talking about Water Cobra and all of the stuff that he's doing, and how Clark has no respect for him because Clark, as you later find out, is a bootstraps guy, had to work for everything he got to become prime minister. And he really doesn't have a lot of respect for this guy who's just thinks he can charm his way through his presidency. And the two of them have to hook up and meet. And so initially, when they get together, those two do not like each other. Well, actually, Clark's character really doesn't like Derringer. Derringer is still a little salty that he took his opponent for fish and chips. So that's a running gag that goes throughout it. But I'm saying all that to say that it sets up the classic Hollywood story of two people who don't like each other at the beginning, who must come together. And by the way, by the time the movie's over, they're gonna be coup de la and they're gonna be good to go. But there is a lot of action. The camera work and how they did a lot of this stuff was absolutely very interesting. I think, Charles, one of the things that I found to be really funny, and you laughed at it too, is when one of the characters reemerges and somebody goes, well, where have you been? And they do this quick montage, which I thought was great, and they do a couple of them in there that are like that. So I think the director of this, who's the director, Charles?
I don't
I
know.
thought you had this looked up, man. That's all.
I don't know how to pronounce her
Oh,
name.
I got you.
It's
Let's not butcher it. Let's not butcher it. They did
Ilya
a
knife
really good
something.
job on the
Yeah.
execution. And this movie, I don't know what I was expecting. It wasn't what I was expecting. It was way better. It was very entertaining. The Jonas character, Charles, have you seen a woman get punched and beaten like that before and survive? I mean, she takes a lot of punishment in this movie, in this action story, and she's the main kind of like protagonist that's protecting both these presidents on the run. Man, so yeah, and again, I'll also end with normally when you have a movie like this, you've heard me say this before, that if you don't have a really good bad guy, these movies really don't work. They had a really good bad guy in this one. He was a guy you were rooting for somebody to punch him in the face and shoot him. And so I thought Heads of State worked for me really, really well. I'm not going to give my grade yet. Charles, what did you think about Heads of State?
I think first of all, Tim Gordon has this hatred for wrestling, and so when he goes into this film and seeing John Cena, he really is underestimating the abilities of Cena to work. But I also want to give out a shout out to the rest of the cast. You got Carla Gugino in here and
Oh
Stephen Root.
yeah.
and Jack Quaid, who does a fantastic pop-up role, and Sarah Niles, who you mentioned a few minutes ago, who played the mother of Joshua Pierce in F1. If she's fantastic in the film too. So, yeah, I agree with you. And even I myself went into this with low expectation. I was like, this is just going to be whatever. But the story was actually really decent, and the banter between Elba and Cena is just fantastic. How they just hate each other and just keep digging at each other. It's fantastic
Hey
throughout
Charles,
pretty much the whole movie.
hey Charles, I'm gonna take this tree out the ground and beat you to death with it. Really?
Really?
There
Well,
it
go ahead.
is. And then he goes, he would pick the biggest tree. So I enjoyed myself immensely. And in the action scenes, I was sitting next to a colleague, Jen Chaney of Vulture magazine. She kept hearing me go, damn. So yes, I had a
So
lot of fun with this movie, man.
a lot of fun with this movie, and in the same week where I saw Jurassic World, I saw this film maybe a day later, and I was much happier with my movie experience.
Wow.
So I give this film a B plus. It's I mean it's really a great summer fun movie, and guess what? It's on Prime now. You can watch it. You don't have to go to the theaters to see it.
Yeah, I gave it a B. I liked it a lot. I enjoyed it. It was a fresh. Like I said, I thought that they did the execution of it was really great. There was a lot of fun stuff that was in this, and a lot of great action, man. So definitely check it out. All right, Charles, we got one movie left, man, and of course, this is a movie that closed the Light Rail Film Festival, which hence the shirt. And of course, the movie, of course, is 40 Acres. And 40 Acres, if you guys don't remember, so we're going to refresh your memory, was surviving on an isolated farm after plagues and wars. A former soldier and her family make one last stand against a malicious militia trying to take their land. Part survival thriller, part family drama. This is a raw, tense, and timely story that stars Danielle Deadwilder. Um, Charles,
Weiler.
okay, thank you. That's why you're going first. So go ahead, Charles.
Okay, this film premiered at T Toronto International Film Festival last year. I saw it there, and I had the opportunity. I think I've shared this story before, but Danielle Deadweiler was at the Toronto International Film Festivals promoting the piano lesson. And we got invited to the junket for the piano lesson. I got the opportunity to actually speak to Danielle, and I leaned over and whispered in her ear. I said, piano lesson's good, but your work in 40 acres is much better. And she gave me this look like, how you know about my film? Like I wasn't supposed to have seen 40 acres. And so I think that was one of the reasons why I was overjoyed in getting that for the Light Reel Film Festival, because this is a special film. It's a post-apocalyptic thriller, of course. And I can't speak enough about how engaging and Danielle Deadweiler is in this film, how she switches from being a mother to being a protector, and she's a bad woman when she has to be, and I just really enjoy the film. And that, yeah, I don't know what else to say. Is R.T. Thorne, who directed it and wrote it. This is his first film, a debut film for him. A way to go out of the box. So I can't stress enough how important this film is, because it touches into the history of Black people in Canada and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I enjoy the film a lot.
All right. Well, we got about under 3 minutes left, man. So I will just kind of echo what you said, and I agree with you. I think uh it's not what I expected. I did not see it in Toronto like you did. I saw it much later as we were preparing for the fest. And I thought it was a very gritty thriller that kind of, showed Lady Deadweiler in a different light. Did I say her name correctly? Because I keep messing it up.
No, no.
What did I say?
You keep putting an extra D in it. Wilder. It's Wilder.
Okay, I'm sorry. It shows Mrs. Deadweiler in a very different light than what we've seen. And I thought that they executed it quite well and they did a really, really good job. I thought that the action elements of the film, which are, there's some in there, not a lot, but I thought that everything about 40 Acres worked and it really was a fresh take for me. And I enjoy watching her work because you got to remember we've gone from Till to the piano lesson to this movie. And then I think it was Woman in the Yard was another one that she's made. So she keeps
Don't
giving
forget The
me,
Harder They Fall.
all right, and another one. So she keeps giving me different looks in every
Yeah.
film. So I think it's a wise decision by her team because you do not pigeonhole this actress because she can play anything. So I like 40 Acres, man. I went with a B, maybe B plus on 40 Acres. What say you, Charles?
I went with a solid B. I wanted to give it a plus, but there were some elements of the story that didn't work. But other than that, I mean, Danielle is fantastic. Like you said, her range is dynamic.
All right, Charles. Well, we got to wrap, man, and get up out of here for the holiday weekend, man. And as we tell you every week in closing, man, please see something good at the movies. On behalf of Charles Kirkland and myself, Tim Gordon, I'll just remind you one more time. And Charles just starts laughing in advance, and I don't know why, man, but we tell you, Charles, stop laughing, man. You're messing up the close, man. Make sure you keep it smart, you keep it bold, but always keep it real. All right. And until next week, man, you guys enjoy your holiday weekend. You guys take care, man. And I'll talk to you soon, man. Peace. Stop laughing at the tease, man. Stop.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm on set.